picturesque, as you can look out over the river and the valleys you can see for 30 miles. And of course, with the cattle that you can see there, we've actually built this right in the right on the edge of Highway 281. You can kind of see goes along the property right here. We have cattle that we actually rent the pasture out every year. And we're good stewards of that with some management practices we'll talk about here in a little bit too. We started this in 2001. We bought the land, removed some fence, and each one of those little grow tubes there is where we planted some of our first vines. We planted about 1.5 acres of grapes, thinking that that would be more than enough for what we wanted to do originally. But we now have 9 acres, and we buy probably another 13 acres. We process about 140,000 pounds. This was our first winery, which was built in 2006. And it had a porch on the south, as you can see, and also on the east. And so it takes advantage of this picturesque view that we have. And after about the first 3 years, our accountant was coming through and doing a tour, and he says, I think you probably need to add on, because we were basically in a 32 by 40 garage, basically is what it was, and which was the winery, yes. Built as kind of a garage on a building that if we didn't make it in central Nebraska, we could convert it to a house or something like that. So we added on about 3,000 square feet, and that's the picture there. But like just about every business and every farm operation, at some point in time, you're going to have a setback. And on June 23rd of 2012, we did have a fire. There was a large storm that had come through in the middle of the night and completely destroyed the winery. And we didn't know whether we wanted to continue or not at that point in time. You can see but we had a lot of neighbors and friends that encouraged us, and so we decided to move forward. Part of the recovery you can see down here in the corner is actually Loretta's son Casey's pickup and camper. They were living in Iowa at the time, and they drove out to help us recover. And it was an attic fire, pretty well destroyed everything. This is what we have rebuilt, and this kind of is an aerial view of our location looking to the north. So you can see we're surrounded by production ag. We have a lot of grass pasture around us. And then to the south of us, there's corn, soybeans. And off to the side here was a large event. We can seed approximately 200, 100 inside and 100 plus outside. So one is a pasture that is around us, and anybody that's involved in agriculture might be familiar with controlled burns. It was kind of interesting. Right after the fire, we'd gone through several months. I think we started reconstruction in about September, but it was in about February that we decided to go to California. And we were actually sitting in LAX, and we had a local guy who was in charge of controlled burns in March. And he said, we're starting the controlled burn. And it came in, it was a beautiful sight. If you've never participated in a controlled burn, I highly recommend it. It really gets rid of all the cedar trees. This one was lit off at about 6:15 in the evening. So it went into the night. And the 911 call center said, get the fire trucks up to the winery. The place is burning down again. Everybody thought it was on going down, but Jim was here. They have units that are mounted in their pickup. You can kind of see some water being sprayed to control the burn throughout the night. Here we're setting some backfires, and this is what it looked like then after the fire. It's completely different. You can see some pathways that they drove across, and they controlled it around our facility.
Mick, you're not sharing your screen right now.
Yeah, if you could, yeah, we just lost a little bit ago. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. If you click on that green button again, that might help. Let's see.
How much did you see?
We saw where you were burning along the fence line. We saw everything up until the controlled burn.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you, when canopics were burning along the fence line. So
Thank you.
we didn't
Oops.
miss much.
All right, we don't get to see this.
Yes.
Okay, so
There
you
we
saw all
go.
this?
Yep, about right there. Yep,
Okay.
right there is good. Uh-huh.
So this is what it looked like at night. It was really a spectacular sight. It was, if you're not a pyromaniac, it would almost make you into a pyromaniac. It was really a lot of fun. And here's the vehicle that I was talking about that was shooting a stream of water. We burned it in 3 kind of sections and burned it from the outside in. Okay, testing 1, 2. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
You're fine. Thank you.
So there was the, and here was looking back at the winery after the burn was done. So it was amazing to me how they could control the fire around that facility and never put us in danger 1 iota. So this is our facility that sets, it's about 4,000 square feet. And then the winery is about another 5,000 square feet, which is a steel building on the back side. We did upgrade a few things, and you can see we have a lot of visitors that come from all over the country, and inside, outside seating throughout the year. And we are set up for special events. We've hosted the state fair for their annual review, as well as weddings and other events. So kind of the cycle that we have here, it's really grape farming is the process as we move into, I guess, what the value-added agriculture. And that's what we do. We'll take the grapes, we'll add value by processing them into wine. Then we have retail sales at the winery, and we'll have events that we'll go through a few of here in a little bit. And then in Nebraska, because we have a requirement that says we have to make at least 60% of our wines from Nebraska grapes, we have the ability to wholesale distribute. So we distribute our wines to roughly 135 outlets across Nebraska. And we do sell only in Nebraska, but we, as far as wholesale, but we can sell nationwide, which we can cover here in a little bit. We can do that via online. And then we also have a rural located restaurant. We could talk about wine till we're blue in the face. Wine is an amazing beverage. And it's like jumping off in the deep end of a pool. Really, it's more like jumping into the ocean. It's about that complicated. But what we'll talk about here today is what we do, and that's growing grapes. Our challenge, I think, in Nebraska is kind of unique. We grow hybrids, and that's going to be the big question that a lot of people have. There's roughly 10,000 varieties of grapes in the world, and approximately 1,300 of those are suitable for winemaking. None of those 1,300, we'll say, are able to withstand the winters of Nebraska. So what we did is we have cold climate grapes, and those came from the University of Minnesota in about the 1970s. So we have kind of an identity crisis because nobody knows what a Frontenac is or an Edelweiss. They always will come and they'll say, well, what do you have that's like a Merlot or Chardonnay? So we have new varieties that require that we basically establish new demand for our product. So there's a lot of marketing. So just to kind of go through what what we do on the right hand side are vines at the end of the season. This is old growth. You have your canes. It will grow roughly 4 foot from your cordon, and that all needs to be pruned away. And that's what we're doing right. We'll start here very shortly, and we'll do winter pruning. So on the left side, you can see we had a nice spring morning that was foggy, and we have a shoot or a spur right here. And this is what will grow the new wood and will actually bear the grapes for the coming year. Another thing that we do is we will take all the wood that is pruned and lays on the ground. We'll rake that up, put it in piles, and then we will burn that. And the reason we burn that is it gets rid of the host for diseases, and will also destroy insects that may be living in the canes, because there are a lot of cane borer. So if you've ever had apple trees and apple twig borer, it's basically the same thing that gets onto the grapevines. And so destroying those is advantageous to the process. So then in the spring, right over here, you can see what this is what we call as a bud swell. So it's like the bud on a tree, and grapes will bud out roughly 10 days after the trees in our area. So they're about 10 days behind the trees. And you can see right here is a new bud that has come out. And of course, looking out over the hilltops, you can see the trees are leafed out and our grapevines are starting to grow as well. So about Memorial Day here is when we'll bloom. So over here in the upper left, you'll have a floret. And then you'll have, these are just newly pollinated red varieties. And on this one, you can see you got a tinge of red. And that's always interesting to me. On the right-hand side are white grapes, and they don't have that color at pollination. But even after pollination, the red grapes will have a red colored berry, and you can tell that they have been pollinated. So you'll have fruit set, and then of course, eventually that'll turn into a very nice cluster. This was Allie. Allie actually is working in Maryland, it's Connecticut actually, I think is where they're at. She just got her degree, so I think she's gonna try to be getting a job with Farm Credit Services, but she spent roughly 4 years with us, and she was very good help, and that was a tremendous cluster that we had of grapes. So harvesting is always a big thing. We have a large Hispanic population in Grand Island, and we've relied very heavy on the Hispanics because we could always get them here. We can always rely on them, and we can usually get them in the numbers that we need. We've done high school band groups, we've done FFA groups, and it's always fun for those. And we've done volunteers, yeah, and that's always fun for about the first 30 minutes. And after that first 30 minutes, then it's work.
They're done.
And they're done. They don't want any more to do with it. But so we usually pick in buckets, and then we dump buckets into this tote, and that was all well and good, but timing is everything. And we have since moved to harvesting by machine. So this is a combine basically of that is on the right hand side that's picking the grapes, and then on the left where the tractor is, they're pulling the bends and they put the grapes into the machine. What it does is it straddles the row, and right in this area here is where the grapes fall. And then if you know how a combine works, you have a return buckets, and it basically pulls those grapes and pulls them up, blows the leaves out of them as best it can, runs a magnet over, pulls out any steel staples that it shook out of the posts, and then deposits those grapes into these macro bins. And these bins will hold, those are pretty full. Those are probably going to hold about 1,400 pounds. And so there's a lot of grapes in there. And then we take those grapes, we've got a dumper, and then we all have the guys are dumping the grapes into a destemming unit. We've since upgraded as well. Over here is the press. It's a horizontal press. And we use the horizontal press because it will actually give us 20% better yield on pressing the grapes than the old basket press that you would typically think of where they ratchet it down in Italy. So red grapes we put into a macro bin. We crush them. There's juice, there's seeds, there's skins, there's bugs. Your acid level is at 3.5, we'll say, which is below 4. So for food processing and consumption, anything below 4 is very safe. So you'll do a skin soak, and that's how you'll do your reds. The juice, once we press it out, goes into this tank, and this tank here, this tray, is about 320 gallons. You can see the juice coming out. On the right-hand side here is the pumice. And I always say it looks about like horse hockey. When it all comes out, if you've got it pressed right, it's going to be nice in clumps, and it's about the consistency of silage. So about 60% maybe moisture, but it's really, really dry. And you can see a lot of seeds and probably even rice hulls there too. So then once we put it in the tank and actually get done fermenting, we go through a filtration process, and we have we go through 5 different filters. So what the diagram on the left shows that there's a membrane, it pulls out a lot of the solids. And then the second filtration, it'll pull out even more solids, because we'll go from, and this is interesting because we'll deal with both standard measurements and we deal with metric measurements. So we deal with, what was I going to say? Microns. So 1 micron. So we're dealing like with 10 microns, which is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. And we'll eventually get down to 0.45 microns, which would filter out something as small as a yeast body. And then we'll bottle it. And right down here in the center, we were actually in Italy. And it was kind of funny because the hose down here is larger than any hose that we have. This is a 4-inch hose in the middle. And each one of these tanks is more wine than we sell in a year. Each one of those tanks is 11,000 gallons. And it was Antinori, I think, was the winery there. And then on the right, so we'll take them, we'll run the wine through the hoses, we'll run it through a bottler, and you can see one of our grandsons here helping Allie, and he was handing her the bottle so that we could do the bottling. We run about 24 different labels, mostly white wines. Nebraska is now getting some very good dry varieties that'll have tannins and that will be very similar to a Merlot or a Cabernet. And as Bev indicated, we've had people from 50 states and 60 to 70 countries. And this lady here was from India that was visiting us. We're kind of a place for FFAs, frequent friends, family, and acquaintances. So like any farm operation, our job in the vineyard starts about 2 years ahead of our crop. We do have to worry about soil fertility, and grapes live off of what is in the roots for about 3 months until they actually bloom. And then once they bloom, then they'll start pulling nutrients in. So pollination is important. This year we pollinated between, late. We were in about the 10th of June this year, and usually we're between the 25th and the 5th of June. So unfortunately, we do compete with production ag. We compete with dicamba and 2,4-D, which is pretty devastating to us. And we've had to work with our friends around us and our neighbors, and they help by not spraying at the wrong time. We can usually survive once we get pollinated. So this year we were about 3 weeks late in pollination. It was really a cool, wet spring. But what was interesting is that our growing degrees accumulated very fast. So even though we pollinated 3 weeks late, we actually harvested a week early. That's how much heat and how many heat units Nebraska had this year. So our quality was pretty good. Our yields were down. We had really high winds during pollination. So we were anywhere from 30 to 60% short. So if you cut your revenue by 30% to 60%, that's essentially what happened to us. So we try to carry over additional, we'll do about 125% of what we need to sell in any given year, so that if we have a short year, we also have some in the warehouse. So it's capital intensive. So we should have some really good wines this year for what's going on. Tasting room and restaurant, Loretta, I can cover some of that. No?
Go ahead.
So,
I know what you want me to say.
So,
Make me say.
we have a lot of tables inside and outside. Some of these pictures you'd seen before. We do have a chef on staff or a cook, and we have a kitchen. That was one thing that we didn't start with here, but we found that in order to get people out in the middle of nowhere, you had to have something to draw them there. And food and wine is one of those things that will always attract people. So we have some very nice plates, and we also have some very common hamburgers and things like that as well. So we have staff, and that's probably one of our biggest challenges out here in Nebraska. St. Paul is a town of 2,300. Grand Island is a town of 50,000, and it's 20 miles away. But our most stable workforce are the gals that come from around the area. So this was our staff right after the fire, and we were still toasting life as it was continuing on. Life does continue on, and this is some of our staff. We have murder mysteries, so they had the opportunity to dress in a Hawaiian costume. But it is nice. We're a good employer in the sense that with tips and wages. In our area, I think a typical wage is probably going to be almost minimum wage or a little more. I think somebody told me down at the Casey's General that they're paying about $13 an hour. So for somebody to be able to come up here and have 25 to actually, it's almost more like $35 to $45 an hour now with tips is what our staff can make. So we're a pretty good employer. Some of the activities that we have fun runs. So this was a run that we have that benefits fallen firefighters. Obviously with the fire, that's kind of one of those. So they actually run up and down the hills at Miletta Vista. And then after we started hosting that, the state or the high school cross country coach asked if they could run the track as well. We do murder mysteries. We encourage our guests to dress in costume, and then they actually play the parts. We give them a script, and then they will read the scripts and just act goofy. And we also have a wonderful location for weddings and wedding receptions and parties as well. So the biggest thing that comes up, we're just about done, is what do you have that tastes like a Merlot or a Chardonnay? And then, so we have to create varieties or wines or kind of know your wines as to what it's going to taste like so we can lead and guide. But what's really interesting is everyone will talk dry, but they will buy sweet wines. And so Workhorse is our #1 selling wine. It's a red wine for white wine drinkers.
It's good.
And, we grow, we manufacture, we process. We grow roughly 30% of the grapes that we need, and we buy 70% from other Nebraska growers. And that's basically our presentation. Thanks for having us, and we'll entertain questions.
Oh, thank you, Mick. That and Loretta, that was amazing. I love how you put the PowerPoint together. And I'm thinking with wages like that, I should come apply for a job. Really, that was impressive. So I'm gonna ask people to submit questions in the chat for Mick and Loretta. And I have a question to ask you before as we wait for questions coming in. But how did Miletta Vista Winery get their name? How did it get called Miletta Vista?
And I was going to explain that, but what it is of course, Mick and Loretta. And we had a friend that was actually helping us plant the vineyard. And he says, with a view like this, you've got to have Vista in it. And our attorney actually was the one that came up. We thought of 100 different names, but our attorney said, oh, you need to call it Miletta.
You know what? That's what I guessed.
And it worked out perfect. Miletta Vista, a Mick and Loretta's view.
Yes, it's beautiful. And again, I there's questions coming in, but personally, I want to thank you for bringing culture to this part of our state. It's been fun bringing girlfriends. So we have some questions now. Alice Kiner, if I'm pronouncing it right, or Keener, wants to know, do you bring in bees for pollination?
Actually, there are bees always around us, but the flowers of the vines are so small that they don't attract the bees. They don't produce enough pollen for the bees to be attracted. However, the bees love the sugar that is produced by the grapes at the end of the season. So they're always there. Yeah, but they are self-pollinating.
Okay, they're self-pollinating. Okay. Does the cold, Glenn Martin, who's our Toastmaster, wants to know, does the cold weather in winter allow for the production of ice wine there, or are the summers too hot?
The summers are probably too long. One of the keys for ice wine is that you have to have frozen berries on the vine. And when you harvest ice wine, you harvest it frozen. So like our friends up in Wisconsin usually harvest their grapes that they put in ice wine the day after Christmas.
Oh.
But it's warm, cold, and so we get this freeze thaw action that you would lose pretty much all your juice, but we do have a process called cryo extraction. So we freeze the grapes artificially, press them frozen. Once the juice reaches 36 degrees or higher, we stop pressing, and that's how you make the ice wine. And you get
Okay.
about half the juice you normally do. That's why ice wine's a little more expensive.
Okay, thanks. Trish wants to know, is it necessary to rotate wine bottles in the wine rack?
If you have a wooden cork, you'll want to lay your wine bottles on their side. So if it's a cork or wooden cork, which cork usually comes out of Portugal, Spain, you'll want to keep them on their side, and that keeps liquid on the cork and it prevents the cork from drying out. As far as rotating the bottles, no sense in rotating those. But
Okay.
if you have a wooden cork, make sure it's on its side so there's always liquid touching it.
Okay, and we have a question from Sheila Bacillo from Virginia, and she wants to know, do you have a dry Chardonnay?
We do not, but we have one called Heritage, which is a dry dry La Crescent. And it's actually oaked, and it has a honey flavor to it. Some people say that they like it better than a Chardonnay. So it's very similar, but it's not going to be a Chardonnay. Chardonnay will not survive Nebraska winters.
Okay, and thank you. And here's a question from Lisa Lang from Iowa. Could you tell us here today a little bit more about your award-winning wines, what they're called, and can they order online?
Yes, they can order online. If you go to our name, which is Miletta Vista Winery.com, there is a space on there where it talks about wines, and we can ship to you. Our award-winning wine, first award-winning wine, was an Edelweiss, just like the song Edelweiss, Edelweiss. And that was out of Florida. And Edelweiss in Nebraska has actually won Best of Show 6 different times across the United States. Different wineries have won Best of Show white wine with our Edelweiss 6 different times from Nebraska. That's fairly significant. Our second and third award winner was a dry Brianna. And that Brianna is what won in Sonoma, California. And Brianna also won the Jefferson Cup in Kansas City.
Okay, thank you. I hate to say this, but we run out of time. We have to go to our next speaker. But Janice Sue would like, President National would like us all to raise our glasses for a toast. And we thank you, Mick and Loretta.
And would you please let Glenn do the toast?
Yes, Glenn, please. Unmute. Okay.
Glenn's
There we go.
There we go.
I ask everyone's forgiveness. I didn't have the opportunity to memorize this, so bear with me. On behalf of the officers and membership of the Society, thank you for the chance to learn about winemaking in Nebraska, certainly an industry that is not yet widely recognized. We look forward to pairing some of your wines with our Shepherd cheeses. We congratulate Miletta Vista Winery on emerging from their devastating fire stronger than before, and we wish Mike and Loretta McDowell, their family, and their hardworking employees continued good health and a prosperous new year. Cheers.
Cheers.
You're here.
Cheers.
You're here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. This was a magnificent presentation. Phenomenal.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you,
We
Glenn.
did.
Thank you. Now, Bill Martin, would you like to come back in? And
Absolutely, Janice Sue. That was a terrific presentation. It reminds me of how much our farmers do for their communities. And the next speaker that we have and his wife, Dave Major and Yeshenia, are sheep farmers. I was very impressed that David is also has a passion as a sheep herder. Very, very appropriate for the season that we're in. The farm is the Vermont Shepherd LLC. It's the oldest sheep dairy in the United States and one of the largest sheep farms in Vermont. In addition to cheeses, The farm produces lambs and wool and markets its products across the country. David actually has spent his whole life on the farm, which is about 350 acres. They have 5 children between them. The youngest is still in 8th grade, and the older children live as far away as Colorado. David, also, again, talking about local community involvement, has been vice president of the State Farm Bureau, and he's been chair of the local school board. I should also say, and he sent this to you, that one of his passions is taking a wintertime sauna with Yesenia. I'd like to see that. So anyway, we really appreciate you being here, and the floor is yours, David.
Okay, so we need to
Let's see, I
unmute.
think you can
Are you
hear.
on, David?
Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, okay,
Yes.
there we go. All right, thank you for having us. And Mick and Loretta, that was a wonderful presentation. We are nowhere near as prepared as you are, but we'll do our best.
Well, we look forward to getting some of your wine.
So I wanted to say, can you just turn that off? We're right now in our farm office, and after saying a few words about the farm, Jasenia is going to take her phone outside and just
Hopefully.
show you, hopefully, if it works, and show you what we see out our windows.
Oh, I used to, I don't know if I can do it.
We will be able to. This is marvelous.
Okay, great.
Oh, here we go.
So
Yes.
Vermont Shepherd is a 350-acre farm. It is what was 3 different farms when I was a child is now all one farm. We farm it all as one farm. You can see there, I think, Jasenia, can you share that screen so it goes?
Can I?
Yeah, just press share screen. I could see you. There you are.
Okay. Only the host.
I've got you on the right.
Okay. Janice Sue, can you?
Yes, sir. I'm going to try and
Great.
All right, give me 1 second. 'Cause it's cold outside.
We got some snow last night, as you'll shortly see. So
Let's see.
some fresh snow.
I'm
Okay.
trying to. There you go. Oh my goodness, look at that.
So can you make that a big screen, either
Let me see.
Jasenia or Janisu?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Let's see if I can't do it this way. I'm gonna try and, well, I'll just do it this way. Okay. All right, let's see if
All right.
that worked.
Okay, so maybe while you're working on that, I will continue. We milk about 200 sheep through the season. We also buy sheep milk from another sheep dairy that's a couple of miles away from here, and also from cow dairy, Elmley Farm, which is situated on the Putney School campus, and it's about 3 or 4 miles from here.
Ask her to unmute. Please ask, David, please ask her to unmute.
Okay, well, she's gonna stay muted, and I'm going to explain what you see there.
right.
Okay, so right now she is she's just outside the farm office. Jasenia, can you turn it around so they can see where I am right now? Oh, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, so there is, we're sitting in our farm office. That's the office right there. And then Jasenia, turn it around so they can see the sheep again. Up on the hill, perhaps you can see just below the trees is one of our groups of sheep. That's a group of about 170. And there are 2 guard dogs with them, Great Pyrenees guard dogs, which we have because we have many coyotes around. Our little farm store is off on the left and on the driveway coming in. And then we have a guest house and our own house.
Oh, she does not have to go out in that. No?
And then Jasenia, turn around and so they can see the barn. Oh no, that's the cheese house. Okay, so where we make cheese is just beyond my brother's vet truck. He has a large animal vet clinic. And then we make cheese in that little building there.
Yeah.
And Jasenia, don't go too far away or you'll lose reception, I think. And then turn around so we can see the barn, Jasenia. This barn was built in 1890. It's a really spectacular barn. At that point, this was a very successful sheep farm. Then it turned into a cow dairy in the late 1940s, and then turned back to a sheep farm when we started working it. And in that barn is where we milk the sheep. There's a milking parlor. There's a washroom, and then we also during March lamb about 170 ewes in that barn. Usually get about 400 lambs. They average over twins or better. And then we have another lambing that's outside in late May, early June. So that gives you a picture of what the scenery is like here. Also, like in Nebraska, quite a lovely spot. Up on this hill, you're looking at the sheep, and then up on the hill, it's called Popcorn Hill. It's a big, round, quite high, lovely, all open hill that we hay and graze the sheep on. During the summer, we're rotationally grazing the sheep, so the milkers get moved every 12 hours, every milking. The lambs get moved every day, every 24 hours, and then other groups of sheep get moved every 2 to 3 days or so. There is a little dog, a pet dog that we have, Blanca. So that gives you a picture of the farm. The cheeses we produce, thank you, Jasenia.
Oh, thank you for going out. Thank you for going out in the snow. My
No
goodness,
problem.
next time we'll send him out.
The cheeses we produce are an all sheep milk version, which is we call Verano. Jasenia's family is Spanish, Hispanic, and so Verano means summer in Spanish. And then a cheese that's mixed sheep milk and cow milk is called Invierno. We make most of this in the winter, so that's what this one is. I think a few of you ordered a sampler, and that one has the Verano, the all sheep milk version, the Invierno, which is a mixed cow and a sheep, and then a 2-year-old version of the Invierno. They're both or all award-winning cheeses. They've for a number of years have won best in the farmhouse cheese category at the American Cheese Society contests, which are held from the East Coast to the West Coast, different places every year. And in the year 2000, the all sheep milk Verano won best of show, best cheese in the country. So we're proud of the awards they've gotten, and it certainly helped in the marketing department. We market the cheese all around the country. Prior to COVID, most of our cheese we sold wholesale or to distributors, and it went to restaurants, through a distributor to Sky Chef Kitchens, to 4 different airlines that had it as snacks on airlines, and on our mail order site all around the country to homes around the country. Since the pandemic started, the wholesale markets dried up pretty drastically, and we pivoted, and we're happily pretty successful doing so, to work with regional farm stands, farmers markets, home delivery businesses, community supported agriculture setups, and have
Direct sales.
direct sales, and that's worked out really quite well for us, as has our mail order, which this year it's ironically almost every week has been like Christmas in our mail order department, and Christmas was the best Christmas ever for us. So it's a kind of ironic situation. But anyway, That has helped make up for the lack of wholesale orders, which is great. So let's see, we also produce wool. This is yarn from made from our wool. It's spun up by a local woolen mill spinnery in Putney. That's just a few miles south of us. And so some of our wool goes there to be made into yarn. Some of it goes also to that same woolen mill to be spun into weaving yarn, and then goes to Swans Island Blanket Company in Maine, where they make these really beautiful wool blankets off the mid coast of Maine. So we also have many lambs every year, usually 400 to 500. And at this point, because we are well known as a sheep dairy, we sell a lot of the females to people who are planning to milk sheep or are milking sheep and want to expand their flocks. And then of course we sell lamb as well. That is that. Anything else to add, Jasenia, in the?
I want to say something.
Sure.
I want everyone to know what a blessing you and Vermont Shepherd are to the National Society Descendants of American Farmers. David came in and was our rescue. He rescued us because a speaker was not able to. And David and Yesenia said yes on doing this at such a quick notice. And I want to thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts for doing this presentation. It was phenomenal for us to have you. And, you know, everything works out for the best. You have been such a great speaker. And for us we've done a pre-Zoom with you, and we learned so much. And we are just honored to have you here today. And I know we have a few questions, so if you don't mind, I might ask them to you. They said, so wonderful to see your amazing property. And then can you describe cheese making process?
Sure. Let's see. The milk, we start usually 7 or 8 in the morning, 3 or 4 days a week. We take the milk from the barn or bring it in milk cans, 10-gallon milk cans from other farms, usually 18 or 20 milk cans in the back of the pickup. Dump it into a vat. Usually we try to keep the milking that is from that morning separate so that we can right away add culture to that warm milk. So it's a culture that starts the acidification of the milk. And then we warm up the milk from the previous night in the vat to about 90 degrees to close to body temperature.
It's unpasteurized.
It's unpasteurized, right.
It's unpasteurized.
The cheese is all aged cheese, but it's raw milk cheese, unpasteurized cheese. So then we will heat the milk up to body temperature, add the culture. Then after the culture is worked for about 45 minutes, we add a rennet, which is an enzyme, and that causes the milk to coagulate. If it's sheep milk is extremely easy and extremely quick to make cheese out of because it really wants to be cheese. So with sheep milk, it takes just 20 minutes, 25 minutes for the milk to coagulate. With the mixed cow and sheep milk, it usually takes about 45 minutes or so. And then we take what we call a cheese harp, which is sort of almost looks like, well, it looks like a harp. It's some parallel wires. We run that through the coagulated milk. That immediately causes the milk to separate into curds and whey. If we are making ricotta that day, we save the whey, we pasteurize it because ricotta is a fresh dairy product. We pasteurize it and heat it up, and the leftover protein in the whey precipitates out, and that's what ricotta is. But the main center of action is the curd, and that we will heat up a little bit more to the body temperature of sheep, which is about 102 degrees. Then
Becomes one big slab.
yeah, it becomes one big slab. It sort of sticks together. We cut that up, usually make about 20
To 32.
20
wheels.
yeah 20 to 30 wheels in a make, and the wheels are 6-7 pounds big. These wedges that I showed you, or you might have in front of you, because a number of you, thankfully, thank you very much, ordered some cheese.
Yeah.
So they're cut from say a 7-pound wheel of
Right.
cheese. And then that cheese at the end of the afternoon goes up to our cave. At the north end of our farm, half a mile to a mile up the valley, is an underground cheese curing facility. It's about 1,500 square feet underground. It has a shipping room at the front of it where we do our shipping. And then further in are all of these shelves that have the wheels of cheese on them. The wheels of cheese stay there for
Well,
for,
some
again,
for more than 2 years.
some for more than 2 years, right? But most about a half a year.
Mhm.
And I apologize. They're asking how much milk do you get each day?
Good. Okay, I was going on about the the process, but that's the cheese making process.
You keep
How much
going.
milk do we get every day?
Well, go on the process, please.
Right. No,
That was it.
that finishes the
Then
process.
we bring it to the cave and the age is there, and we turn it twice a week until it leaves the cave. So up to 3 months, up to 2 years. I actually have one wheel I'm aging for 3 years. It's a little older than 3 years right now.
Oh my.
So the amount of milk we get per day varies. In the spring, when the sheep have just had their lambs, and the lambs have just been weaned, they produce about 1.5 quarts to half a gallon of milking. So half a gallon to a gallon a day, because there's 2 milkings. By fall, they're only producing a cup to a pint of milking, but the milk becomes very, very rich. So in the spring, we will get 1 or 2 pounds of cheese, 1 pound of cheese to 5 pounds of milk. And for comparison, with cow's milk, you get 1 pound of cheese to 10 pounds of milk. So it's twice as rich. But by the fall, we're getting 1 pound of cheese to 3 pounds of milk. So it's really, really rich. Yeah, I think that answers that question.
Somebody just said, I ordered the Inverno Winter and it is so delicious.
Well, thank you.
And then somebody else said they would like to order on your site. Is there a coupon code? I've posted on the chat your direct line so they can do that if that's acceptable. And then
Yes.
I've got people saying, I can't wait to order some. Let's see, there was one other that was really questioning.
It's like how large-
Fantastic talk. Do you sell curds?
We don't sell the curds. Because our aged cheese is not pasteurized, is raw milk. We cannot sell the curds because the fresh dairy products, or put it this way, dairy products need to be aged at least 2 months in order to be safe from the FDA standpoint, and literally, if you have cheese, dairy products that are younger than 2 months. For instance, we make a fromage blanc, which we sell at just 3 days and old. That we have to make from pasteurized milk because you don't have the safety effects that come from aging.
Right. And yogurt as well. We make yogurt.
and that's pasteurized.
Debbie Hansen said, your smoked cheese is outstanding.
Well, thank you. That
And
smoked
we do
cheese.
smoke it here. It is smoked here.
That was the next question. That was the next question.
Yes.
And you do, all right.
We have a fellow who smokes it for us.
Oh, how my,
Out with applewood from a nearby orchard, from Green Mountain Orchard.
Yeah.
So
I have had 4 people ask, are you ever going to do a cheese of the month that they can get signed on?
well, maybe if we make 12 different varieties of cheese, we will. At this point, we really have 2 basic varieties, one that's aged a little more than others.
And
So,
then
yeah.
the
You can
smoke.
always repeat the same one twice.
Right.
Let's see, everybody's enjoying it so much. And
How
oh,
large is
I'd
our
like to
flock?
see inside your barn one of these days.
Yeah.
One of these days, if you would photograph the inside of your barn, we can put it on our national website for you
Okay.
and let everybody see that.
Sure.
I could do that.
Sure.
Um,
I can see one question here. How large is your flock?
Yes,
And that is,
It ranges.
it ranges. We have just because sometimes we have hundreds and hundreds of lambs, sometimes we don't. Our flock is currently the 170 that I'm looking at in the hill that you saw, plus a group of I don't know how many there are, 60 or 70 that we call the grandmas, who are all lamb in late May, early June. They lamb on pasture. They're experienced lambers. We don't have to supervise them as much. So they're up at
They
the
also produce our meat.
right. They're up at the barn by my my dad's house, and then down
The
at
yearling.
at another barn just south of us, about a half a mile south, is our group of yearlings, and there's about 80 some odd of them. And then there's a
The
bunch
boys.
of meat lambs that we have, and some boys and so on. So again, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 or so that we have most of the time, most of the year, who are year-round residents.
Yeah, we maintain about 400, but
oh my goodness, you
we're at
see,
about 1,000.
oh my, Sue said, does cheese made from sheep milk have more or less lactose than cow milk? And
It's
is
a good question.
for those who are lactose intolerant?
Right.
Mhm.
It's a well, I should just explain a little bit about the difference between sheep milk and cow's milk,
Mhm.
and say that a significant number of people who buy our cheese buy it because of dairy, lactose issues or dairy issues.
cholesterol.
And so sheep's milk is very rich, as I said, but it's especially rich in protein. So when you make the cheese, you wind up with a high protein cheese. And in fact, if you go to make a toasted cheese sandwich with our
Milano.
all sheep milk, it's not going to come out very well. The cheese doesn't really melt. It's too high in protein. If you make the toasted cheese sandwich with our Invierno, which is mostly cow's milk mixed with some sheep's milk, it melts just perfectly.
Beautiful, bubbly.
But that just demonstrates the difference. Now it's they're both aged cheeses, which means that the bacterial process has eaten up all of the milk sugars, all the lactose, and
Mhm.
turned it into lactic acid, which helps preserve it. It's needed to preserve it, that acidity. So there really isn't any lactose to speak of in our cheese. Doesn't mean that some people aren't sensitive to some things that can be in it, but by and large, because of the sheep's milk, and people who have issues with cow's milk tend not to have issues with the sheep's milk.
I have just shared your website again. And they are asking, do you ever open barn to educate about sheep? Do you ever do open barn to educate about the sheep?
We have open barn every spring for many school groups.
Oh, okay.
And we welcome visitors. We have a little farm store here. There's opportunities for people to walk around the farm. We often have visitors. Again, we typically sell lambs to people who ewe lambs to people who want to milk sheep. So often we're welcoming visitors in to explain how all that whole process works. And open barns we have done, but we don't have any scheduled right now. An open barn for the public.
A lot of times people show up and pitch in because they see us super busy. And if they want to work, they can help us.
Great, marvelous. Now, they would like to know where you're actually located, please.
Right, we're in the west side of Westminster, which is called Westminster West. It's in the hills just to the west of the Connecticut River Valley. The Connecticut River separates Vermont from New Hampshire. So we're 15-minute drive from New Hampshire, going down into the valley. And we're in southeastern Vermont. So we're in Windham County, Vermont.
Perfect. And we have shared your website, so we hope that a lot of our members will go on and purchase from you. Do you have one that, Betsy wants to know, where can they purchase your yarn? Can they do it on your website also?
On the website.
Yes, Betsy, on the website. Oh, they should. Okay, great. They're all going thumb us up. Good. All right. Any other questions? Great speaker, a marvelous speaker, both of you. And I thank you for going out in the cold with your cell phone on.
No problem.
And everybody said thank you from Maryland. Looking forward to trying your cheese.
Thank you.
And Davina and I love our sampler that we got. There's not one that we would choose over the other. So with my last piece that I have here, I will say thank you so much, but we're going to let Glenn toast to your speaking. And so I've got cheese from you, wine from Miletta, and here goes Glenn. And then don't go yet, David. We'll say goodbye to you.
Thank you.
On behalf again of the officers and membership of the society, thank you for joining us today on our first meeting of the year, especially on such short notice.
Yes.
You know how difficult it can be to get things together, and your presentation was absolutely great.
Wow.
It was a privilege to learn about your farm, which is truly a facet of American history. May the Major and Yelpy, I hope I pronounced that correctly,
That's okay.
families have continued health and happiness. May their sheep remain hardy and productive. And may Shepherd Cheeses continue to be a successful business and a shining example of American farming. We thank you for the delicious results of your long hours of hard work. Cheers.
Thank you, Glenn.
Cheers.
Beautiful glass, Glenn. Thank you all.
Thank you.
David, please stay on. Kate has got her the container, the paper outside of the cheese that she bought. There it is. Kate's got hers. So if you can see the screen, can you see it, David?
Wait, which page is she on?
She's on page 1. Let me highlight her. Let's see if she can talk. Kate, can you just, she's got a sore throat. Kate, can you say hello? There she is. All right, Kate, there, Kate.
Hello, and thank you very much. It's delicious. I bought the Invierno, the winter, and I have just ordered the sampler. My husband is from Greece and is used to sheep cheeses, and he was very impressed.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're all thrilled with yours. We'll all be frequenting your website soon. We hope that you will come back many times and join us on our webinars. We do these monthly. We welcome you always. And we thank you so much for coming and joining us. Please stay on. We're going to have 3 other little things go on, so stay with us. And again, thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts for this presentation. You are a blessing, a true blessing to us. So,
Our pleasure, and Happy New Year to you.
you have it, and I'm going to turn it back to Bill Martin, and then
I mean, I've got to go on a diet because last month we had the sugar cookie people. We all ordered the sugar cookie, and now we're going to be ordering wine and cheese. And there's nothing better than wine and cheese. Again, I live with 2 French women, right? My little baby. I just want to know what portion should be wine and what portion should be cheese. And again, when do you eat cheese? And the answer is all the time, not in the beginning, the end, but we do it all the time. We drink wine all the time too. Well, Janice Sue, I guess we're going to go back a little bit into the business side. And my responsibility first is to thank the speakers. I think it again shows the diversity of our farmers and the spirit that they bring and the happiness that they bring and the fact that our 2 couples today do this together and they're still married. They look happy together. So thank you so much. And our family expands. It's now my pleasure to introduce Maureen Tipton. I mentioned earlier, I am in Rehoboth. She is not. But Maureen is head of our youth director program, of which my child Danny is 20 months now, the same age, I think, as farmers, and doing quite well. But this program, I think, is very, very important as we spread our effort to the youth of America. So Maureen, if you're there, could you take over from here? And thank you, Janice Sue, for all you do.
Thank you, Bill. Maureen?
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everyone. I want to introduce myself as the youth director, and I also have 2 others that help me, Jennifer and Amanda. I don't see Amanda yet because I haven't scrolled through. I look to everyone to go out there and to look to the younger members to try to get them in as a youth member of the organization. We're trying to grow that part of the business because they are our future. I challenge everyone, look for grandchildren, look for nieces, look for nephews, look for any of the farmers that are out there that have children, and we try to have them join the organization. It's important that the youth of today will be the future of tomorrow. So, if you want to reach out to us, if we can help you, the ambassadors in each one of the different states are there, but the youth are the important ones of tomorrow. If we don't teach them how to be farmers, there will not be farmers. So I thank you. I look forward to helping you. I don't think I could be a sheep farmer. I would like to be the wine person, but I don't think I could be a sheep farmer. I do like the cheese. I finished eating my cheese, but I thank those farmers a lot. I live on an 18-acre farm, and we were tobacco farmers on this particular farm. But thank you very much, and I appreciate the time. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Janice Sue.
Thank you, Maureen. All right.
Back to you, Bill.
Let's ask another director to say a couple of words. Sue Fitzpatrick, I might be going out of order.
Yeah, you are. Shoot. I was just already going in my head what I was going to say. I am the newly appointed membership director, and I see my job as being here to help grow your memberships, working with ambassadors in their states, and then trying to work with in the states that do not currently have ambassadors to try to increase some membership. And I think we've talked about a few ideas of things that we will be trying to do in the next few months. And I will share those with ambassadors in a week or so, and then share those ideas with the general membership in the next month or so as we firm them up.
Thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much. Nancy Gilfillan, could you please?
Hello. And it was wonderful. I enjoyed both the programs so very much. And I'm looking forward to tasting the wine and the cheese. I'm a cheese lover. I just really do. So I can't wait. I am the Illinois ambassador, but I am also the national organizing director. And I think that means that I'm the liaison from all the ambassadors to Janice Sue and the national board. I think that's my job.
That is correct. That is correct.
So on behalf of the ambassadors today, I want to welcome everybody. I'm so glad to see so many here. I want to especially say hi to the Illinois people because we have a bunch and I'm really glad to see you. But it's a delight. It was a great program. I think these monthly things are great. I'm delighted to see so many of my ambassadors on today too. And I think that's wonderful because they're representing our society everywhere. And I thank you very much, Madam President National, and Bill, it's back to you.
Thank you, Nancy. You're such a delight to have, and you help us so much, and I appreciate you so much. Chris, are you on that you could bring greetings from the scholarship for just a moment, please, ma'am?
I am, and thank you so much,
Oh, I
President
love the
National.
backdrop.
Thank you as well to our presenters today. What wonderful programs. I'd also like to extend thanks to all of our ambassadors and everyone who's been working so hard to spread the word about our wonderful scholarships. You know, that is a focal point of this organization, and I think response has been really great. I'm happy to let you know that so far we have 8 applicants in our queue right now. I just responded to the most recent applicant this morning, right before our program. I am thrilled with the applications that the scholarship committee will be reviewing. And as your newly appointed scholarship director, I'm thrilled to serve the organization in this capacity since I am a college professor. So I look forward to bringing you more information. Keep in mind that our deadline is January 15th, and please feel free to reach out anytime you have questions about our scholarship program. I'm happy to support you and clarify any of it that I can for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I really appreciate the ladies that I have recently appointed that accepted the positions for directors. And Christina was one, Sue is the other one, and then Maureen and the 3 from youth. I believe that this will help us further our society, and we accept all suggestions. So if anyone has suggestions, we are always willing to take those. Nancy was the first one of our directors to come on and could not do without Nancy. So each and every one of you make an important role with farmers, and we thank you so much. So I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to let Bill close it out, but if anyone would like to stay on afterwards and visit, you are more than welcome to, because we did this last time and we let you all talk for 2 hours afterwards. So so it will be up to all of you. So back to you, Bill. Thank you again for each one of your membership, for your support, and for your love of the National Society Descendants of American Farmers. Back to
Janice,
you.
Sue, before we finish up, I
Yes.
know that the deadline for scholarships for the current year is January 15th, but
Yes,
what's the
ma'am.
next deadline?
August 1 or August 15th, Chris?
I think it was set at August 1. We can revisit that, but I think the August 1st deadline was what we had in mind. So students would have, following the spring semester through the summer, really to apply. Gives them plenty of time.
I'd like to reach back out to some of the schools in New Jersey and just make sure they understand what the deadlines are. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Debbie's one of our ambassadors also. In fact, if you're an ambassador for NSDOAF, would you raise your hand? All these marvelous ambassadors, look here. Phenomenal ladies. Thank you so much. All back to you, Bill.
Which bill do you want?
You.
Okay, thank you, because the other Bill's the one that's doing all the toasting there, I must
Yes,
say.
fine.
What
He just
what a
finished.
marvelous session. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. And remind us again of our blessings that this organization was created just 21 months ago, the same age as Danny. It's phenomenal. The numbers, the membership, are just terrific, and to celebrate together with, what should I say, wine, cheese, and Zoom. So one last toast to everybody. God bless everybody and have a safe, wonderful year.
Thank you. God bless each of you. Thank you for your membership. Thank you for your friendship and love.